responsibility to call this meeting to order since we have not yet sworn in our new mayor. So tonight we are going to start our meeting, the first meeting of 2018 at 6 o'clock on January 8th, 2018. The first part of this meeting will be an organizational meeting. We're going to start off the meeting with an invocation by Mr. Jay Conway.
Let us pray. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you today just thanking you for your blessings, for your love and your mercy, Lord. We just thank you for being able to say that we are living in the greatest country in the world, Lord. Sometimes we overlook that. We know we have problems, Lord, but you give us the ability to sit down and talk to each other and work things out. There's people all over the world dying to come here. Lord, we just thank you for the privilege that we have of living in this country. Lord, we ask a special blessing tonight upon the folks in this community that are sick. There's a lot of them that's sick. You know their needs, Lord, and we pray that you just give them a healing, Lord. Lord, we also thank you for the gracious world that we live in. We thank you for this opportunity tonight, Lord. Lord, we ask a special blessing upon our military. Lord, we know that there's men and women all over this world putting their lives in harm's way for the freedom that we have, that we take for granted sometimes. Lord, we just thank you for that. Lord, we also thank you for the police that government that rule us every day or that protect us while we're in our beds at night sleep. We just give you the thanks for them. We pray that you just be with them, keep them safe. We just praise you for that. Lord, we ask a special blessing upon this meeting here tonight. Lord, we will swear in a new mayor and some of the councilmen. Lord, we just ask that you be with them. Lord, we know that there's going to be disagreements, but we know that we have the common sense to sit down and work things out and to make things better for this community. That's the thing that we're concerned with, and we hope that each one of these people, each one of these men and women that are giving up their time to govern us, we pray that you'll just be with them, bless them, hope that they do their very best for this city that we love so much. Pray now that you'll be with us as we go through this meeting. Please thank you, we ask in Christ's holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Now, everyone can please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first order of business before we get started, as you all know, we have some newly elected officials that are going to be sworn in tonight. And we would like to welcome the Honorable Judge Simpson, John Simpson, who is the Chief Judge of the Superior Court of Carroll County. And we are very thankful that he is here tonight to swear in our newly elected officials. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Judge John Simpson, and we will get the swearing-in process completed.
Okay, we'll start with our mayor-elect. Repeat after me. I, Michael C. Johnson,
I, Michael C. Johnson,
do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will faithfully perform
that I will faithfully perform
the duties of mayor of this city,
the duties of mayor of this city,
and that I will support and defend
and I will support and defend
the charter thereof, as well as the Constitution and laws of the state of Georgia
as well as the Constitution and the laws of the state of Georgia
and the United States of America.
and the United States of America.
Thank you, sir. Congratulations to
Thank
you.
you. Thank you very much.
Okay, Council Member Howard Walden. Can you place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand? Repeat after me. I, Howard Walden,
I, Howard Walden,
do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will faithfully perform
that I will faithfully perform
the duties of council member
the duties of council member
of this city,
of this city,
and that I will support and defend
and that I will support and defend
the charter thereof,
the charter thereof,
as well as the Constitution and laws of the state of Georgia
as well as the Constitution and laws of the state of Georgia
and the United States of America.
and the United States of America.
Congratulations, sir. Okay. Repeat after me. I, Karen Bivens,
I, Taryn Bivens,
do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will faithfully perform
that I will faithfully perform
the duties of council member
the duties of council member
of this city,
of this city,
and that I will support and defend
and that I will support and defend
the charter thereof,
the charter thereof,
as well as the Constitution and laws of the state of Georgia
as well as the Constitution and laws of the state of Georgia
and the United States of America.
and the United States of America.
Congratulations. Okay, Madam Clerk, I have given, okay, here's your, to sign. You get back to the clerk, and I want to thank you for allowing me to do this and wish good luck to our mayor and city council. Good luck to you. Thank you.
Again, we want to thank Chief Judge Simpson for coming, taking the time out of his day to come and be with us and to do the swearing in of the mayor and you councilman. Thank you very much. A few comments. As your new mayor, I want to first of all extend a few thank yous. We've already thanked Chief Judge John Simpson. We appreciate his attendance and participation in tonight. Also, I want to thank all of you, everybody in the room, for your attendance tonight. Our family and friends that are gathered here, and everyone else. And I'd love to consider everybody a friend. We'll see how that works out. But thank you. Thank you for coming and being here with us. I want to give special thanks to my wife. Anybody who's known us for very long know that most of the activities that either one of us are involved in is a partnership with me and her. And I suspect it will be no different in this role that we seek to fulfill. And I thank her for her willingness to ride whatever waves come. Also, I want to extend a very special thank you to my mother who's here tonight. Appreciate her for coming to this occasion. Also thank her for granting us permission to use my dad's Bible in the swearing-in ceremony. My dad passed away in 2013, and we miss him, but we have many, many things that remind us of him and the wonderful treasures of memories that we experienced with him when he was alive. And we thank her for that. And also thanks to my daughter and son-in-law, Christina and Jake Shirley, who are here tonight. We thank them for coming. Our son Matt, which many of you know, is he's unable to come. He and his wife and our grandson, they live in the far reaches of Gwinnett County. And this time of day, you've got to start at 10 a.m. to get here by 6 p.m. That might be a little bit exaggerated, but nevertheless. We're going to get him a video, though, so he'll know what's going on. Also, thanks to former Mayor Lester Harmon for the service that he gave to this city in the last 4 years. We thank him for that. And we extend, on behalf of the city and myself and my family, we extend our prayers for him and his family in regarding his wife's health. We wish them well, wish her good health and recovery if that's possible. But we're going to pray for her. We encourage everyone else to pray for her as well. Also, a big thank you to the 300 plus voters who supported my election, and for all those who campaigned for me. Some of you I know about, some of you I don't know about, but I give all of you a thank you, whichever category you fit in. Thank you so much. I've lived in Temple since 1984. My wife and I raised 2 children here. We have a great town to live in. No question in my mind about that. I'm grateful for the opportunity to work for its positive development while maintaining the qualities that we all value. I pledge to diligently work with this council to find solutions for our challenging situations and to manage positive advancement for our city that will improve the living environment for our citizens. Now, the time is a little past 6:10. There's a big event in Atlanta that's going to be televised a little bit later in the evening. So in consideration of that, that's the end of my comments. Thank you. Now, Councilmember Bivens, would you like to give some comments, please?
Yes, I would like to thank you all for your votes. I would like to tell you that I'm humbled to be back here. I'm appreciative that I'm up here. I do not take this for granted. My grandson will graduate this year. That will be our 3rd generation graduating from this little town. And I'm serious about this little town. So I don't plan on going nowhere. I don't plan on you running me off. And I don't plan on running nobody off. So if we can all just hold hands and love each other, I'm going to be happy.
Councilman Walton.
I too would like to thank all the voters that supported me and gave me the opportunity to do 4 more years. We've got a lot of work ahead of us. We've accomplished quite a bit, but there's a lot of unfinished business. We've got a lot going for us in the future. I'm proud to be here to be a part of that. I especially want to thank my wife, Linda, for supporting me during my re-election and supporting me running again. And I don't take the job lightly. I'm very dedicated to it. And I also echo a lot of the things that Mayor Johnson had mentioned. I won't be repetitive with it, but I'm just glad to be here and looking forward to the challenge. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on with the rest of the agenda. And again, in deference to what's going on in Atlanta, and on our television is a little bit later, but at the same time, we want to be thorough and complete with our business here for the city of Temple. All right, the next item on our agenda is the election of the Mayor Pro Tem. Do I hear a move by the council on this matter?
I'll move to nominate Mayor Pro Tem Bracknell to continue in that position.
We have a move and a second. All in favor? Raise your right hand, please. All right. 3 votes affirmative. Congratulations, Ms. Bracknell. Continue as the Mayor Pro Tem. All right, this time, do I hear a move to approve the published agenda of tonight's City Council meeting?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second. All in favor, let it know by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the same sign. All right, the agenda is approved. At this time, we'll pause for public comments. If you would like to participate in this, please let us know by raising your hand to be recognized. And then, when you are recognized, please come forward, identify by name and your address, and please keep your comments at no more than 3 minutes. Anyone would like to address the council? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the next item, which is the approval of the minutes for the December 4, 2017 regular meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second. Have a move and a second. Mr. Bracknell and Mr. Wallace. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, the same sign. All right, that moves us to the next agenda item, which would be old business. First item under old business is a staff report concerning 2 stormwater issues in the Windy Mill subdivision. Mr. Bill Oswald.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I look forward to working with you and with you council member and all the council members as we get started. And we did have a couple of old business items. Both of these are covered under the same tab. First one that the mayor's introduced, that we do have a couple of stormwater issues that we're working on in the Windy Mill subdivision. Before our city attorney was out of town over the holidays, we started working on a particular situation we've talked with you about before that involves property where Mr. Bonnie Helton lives and his 2 neighbors. We'll be back with you on that soon. We also have another issue that former council member Penny Ransom had brought up, which it appears that because of some grading that had been done some months ago, that we're not getting the runoff of stormwater behind houses on Creek Run Place like we've had in the past. In fact, I met on a couple of days ago with a lady that lives at 934 Creek Run Place concerning the situation there. We are working on that. We will be back with you on that, not later than your February meeting, but there's no action that you need to consider tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne. Item number 2 under old business, the status report concerning the completion of the work on the current zoning map.
Under the same tab, I've got a brief report there. Of course, last fall, the city's elected officials and the planning commission were working to make sure that our current zoning map was entirely accurate. Over the years, there had been changes that had not been marked on the map. We believe that we have caught virtually all of those. Something did come up concerning the old RD rural development zoning classification. Mr. McRae and I have talked about this. There are some notifications that we need to do, some public hearing, one or more that needs to take place. So didn't want to try to do anything with the holidays. Now that we're past the holidays, that is something we'll pick up on, and so expect within the next couple of weeks that we will be scheduling so we can move ahead, and within the next few weeks, hopefully a decision can be made by the Planning Commission and by the Mayor and Council so that we have a officially adopted current zoning map. If there are questions, we'll be glad to try to respond.
Any questions, council? If not, we'll move on in the agenda to new business. Item 1 is to approve a proclamation honoring the Temple Girls basketball team on the 40th anniversary of winning the state championship. I could ask a favor of these folks that when I call your name, if y'all will just stand and remain standing before I read this proclamation, and then the council will take their action. But I'd like for these folks to stand up and remain standing. Coach Donald Stitcher, Ms. Lynn Pope Thomas, Ms. Donna Conaway Johnson, and are there any other members of the 1978 girls basketball team from Temple High School present that I didn't see come in? All right, will y'all please remain standing? Here's the proclamation. Whereas 40 years ago, the Temple Tigerettes basketball team made history when it completed a fantastic season by winning Temple High School's only team state championship by defeating the previously undefeated team from Wheeler County High School. And whereas in winning the 1978 Class B basketball championship in the state of Georgia, the Tigerettes compiled a 23-6 record that included winning 6 games in the state playoffs. And whereas on January 27, Temple High School will host Alumni Night to honor this great team and its historic achievement, which brought statewide recognition to the players, coaches, school, and this community 4 decades ago. And whereas the 1977-78 Tigerettes were coached by Donald Stitcher, and the championship team players were Lynn Pope, Pam Billings, Donna Conway, Esther Luke, Lorraine Spidell, Tammy Drew, Diane Luke, Susan Holloman, and Denise Dobbs, and the team managers were Joyce Levins and Russell Shavitz. And whereas the Temple Tigerettes compiled this outstanding record by having a very successful regular season, and then by capturing the state championship as they beat Cave Spring High School in both the sub-regional and the regional finals, and marched to the state championship by conquering Pace Academy 53-32, Crawford County 33-29, Macon County 49-42, and finally by administering to Wheeler County its only defeat of the season, 30-22. And whereas memories of that championship season and current day recognition of the players and Coach Stitcher will be celebrated in a special Alumni Night event hosted by Temple High School starting at 4:30 p.m. on Saturday, January 27th. Now, therefore, this proclamation is issued by the mayor and city council members of Temple to honor the accomplishment of a basketball team 40 years ago and to honor all the individuals involved in reaching this milestone for themselves and the entire Temple community. What do I hear, council?
Make a motion we accept the resolution.
Second.
All in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
Very good. I'd like to ask Coach Stitcher, Lynn Pope Thomas, Donna Conway Johnson, and Mr. Tim Gribben, the current principal of Temple High School, to come forward to make a photo, please. Council, y'all will come around also. Leon Frost is principal at Temple High School that time. All right, we need to know who we need to look at first. All right, Christina.
1, 2, 3.
All right, Mr. Atkins. Linda, you already got it? All right. I got it. Kristen? We're very thankful to these for coming tonight for this proclamation. Thank you to the council for approving. Next item under new business, background reports on the former Mayor Harmon's vetoes of the City of Temple's 2018 budgets and on the City Council's veto override process.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make just a few comments, and you have in your workbooks a memo that I had prepared, and then our city attorney may have some comments also. But as you know, the City Council on December 4th did adopt 3 different City of Temple ordinances to enact budgets for the 2018 fiscal year. That's our general fund, our water and sewer fund, and the capital budget and the general fund. On December 12th, then Mayor Harmon vetoed each of these, which he certainly had the option of doing, either a line item veto or the entire budget, and he chose to veto the entire budget. The Temple City Charter does give him that power, and it says that when the mayor vetoes an ordinance, including on the budget, that the charter provides that that vetoed ordinance is to be presented by the city clerk at the next meeting of the city council. And you have in your workbooks, the city clerk, those ordinances that had been vetoed. And you will find, as you've looked at that, we included the actual copy that then Mayor Harmon had written on, as well as his reason that he included for why he had done the vetoes. Now, in order to override the veto, it takes an affirmative vote of at least 4 city council members. And if 4 council members vote to override the veto, it becomes law, as if it had not been vetoed at all. Unless there's 4 affirmative votes, then that particular ordinance, the budget ordinance is defeated. Now, if you fail to override the veto, basically, that means that the 2018 budget, as it was presented and adopted, is dead. We would start that process over with a public hearing and with then looking at what we would need to do in terms of any changes that you might want to make. I have mentioned to you the sequence that the next 4 attachments have. We start with the general fund budget, then the capital fund budget, then the water and sewer budget. And you have, as I noted, the budget ordinance, Mayor Harmon's statement of veto, my response to his statement of veto, and then a copy of the actual budget that was adopted by the City Council on December the 4th. Would ask if our city attorney has any comments he wants to make, and then we would move to the council's consideration of each of these agenda items.
I just would compliment you, Mr. Osborne, on the excellent job you did in going through what was done in this process. And it would require a motion and second, since these are separate budget items, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, to override the veto, starting, Mr. Mayor, with number 2, and that would be a veto to override the veto of the general budget. Excuse me, that's number 3. Override the veto of the general fund capital budget and the water and sewer fund budget. So we require a separate motion and second on items 3, 4, and 5, or before you.
All right, Council, regarding the override of the 2018 general fund budget,
I make a motion, we override the veto of the 2018 general fund budget.
Second that.
motion by Mr. Bracknell, second by Mr. Walden. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the same sign. Let the record reflect, the vote was 4 to override and none against.
Mr. Mayor, before you go on, then that means that the budget has been, the vote was to override the veto, and therefore the budget is now in place.
Thank you, sir. Now, to consider the override of the 2018 general fund capital budget.
Motion to, is that number 4, item 4?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, motion to override the general fund capital budget.
Second it?
Motion by Mr. Walden, second by Mr. Bracknell. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the same sign. Let the record reflect, the vote was 4-0 to override. Item number 5, council consideration of the override of the 2018 water and sewer fund budget.
I make a motion that we override the veto of the 2018 water and sewer fund budget.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Bracknell, second by Mr. Wallace. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, by the same sign. Let the vote reflect, or the record reflect, the vote was 4 to override, none against. All right. Item number 6, approve a resolution recognizing the services of a retired member of the City of Temple Planning Commission, Mr. Howard Walden.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Linda Williams was appointed to the Temple Planning Commission back in 2007. And she has served since then, with me reappointing her in January of 2014, when she agreed to do 4 more years. At this point, Ms. Williams has chosen to retire from the Planning Commission, and I had asked for a resolution to be done acknowledging that, and I will read the resolution. Resolution, whereas Linda Williams has served as a member of the Temple Planning Commission for 11 years with dedication and distinction, and whereas the members of the city government are cognizant of Linda Williams' special talents and expertise in this field, and the invaluable service she has given our city in the development of the Planning and Zoning Board. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the City of Temple does hereby convey to Linda Williams our heartfelt appreciation and commendation for her longtime service and the exemplary spirit she has exhibited in carrying out her duties as a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission for the City of Temple.
All right, you've heard the resolution. Council, what do I hear?
Motion to approve the resolution.
I second.
Motion by Mr. Wallace, second by Ms. Bivens. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All, the vote is 4-0. Ms. Williams, will you come forward, please? Come on, Ms. Bivens. Next item is to consider the respective nominations made by Mayor Johnson, Councilmember Walden, and Councilmember Bivens of 3 individuals to serve on the City of Temple Planning Commission. After a thoughtful deliberation, I come to the council recommending as my nomination Mr. Gary Thomas to serve on the Temple Planning Commission. What do I hear from the council?
I make a motion to approve your appointment.
Second.
Move in second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, Mr. Thomas. All right, Councilman Walden.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. After careful consideration, I would like to appoint Mr. Greg Doster to the Planning Commission for Ward 2.
All right, you heard Mr. Walden's recommendation. What do I hear from the council?
I'll make a motion that we accept that.
I'll second. Move in second. First by Ms. Bivens, second by Mr. Wallace. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Congratulations, Dr. Councilwoman Bivens.
Yes, and I would like to keep my appointee on there, and he has agreed to do that, so I would like to nominate Randy Williams for my appointee there, please.
Mr. Randy Williams. Do I hear a move in second?
I make the motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Congratulations. All right, item number 8. Adopt a resolution to change those approved to sign checks from former Mayor Lester Harmon to new Mayor Michael Johnson. And it's not needed because the Mayor Pro Tem remains the same, so. Kristen Etheridge. Mr. Osborne.
If we could, even though there's no change with the Mayor Pro Tem, if we could get in the motion the designation, so it is identified that the mayor pro tem, and then the two staff members, who currently are myself and the city clerk. So the motion specifies who would be authorized.
So you read that over again. Adopt a resolution to change those approved to sign checks from former Mayor Lester Harmon to new Mayor Michael Johnson, and if needed, with the Mayor Pro Tem, Mr. Richard Brackett. What I'll hear from the council.
Motion to approve.
The motion has to have all four names.
Would prefer that, yes.
All four names would be Johnson, Bracknell,
Kristen and Osborne.
Right. We need to vote.
In addition to the Mayor Pro Tem, Richard Bracknell, we'd have City Clerk Kristen Etheridge and City Administrator William Osborne. Now what I'll hear from the council.
Have a motion to that effect.
I second.
All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
And I abstain.
One abstention, 3 approved. All right. Item number 9, brief reports concerning the City of Temple's website, the city's logo, and a display area in the Temple City Hall. Mr. Richard Bright.
Yes, I'm going to make this in the form of a motion because it refers to the area in the foyer. There's a lot of stuff that's just stuck to the wall out there, and then there's another area that's a little conglomerated. So I'd like to make a motion that we buy appropriate display cases to house that information so they clean it up a little bit. Our website is just not what it needs to be. So at the same token, we need to have all the department heads to come together, figure out what we want, figure out which way to go with it. It is my understanding that no one has the power to make a change in anything on our website. We have to call and get someone's permission to change it. That is absolutely ridiculous. So I think we need to be looking at another company. And then the final part is, we had a lot of success with our Facebook page, the City of Temple Facebook page, getting people to participate in different contests and different ideas. Kristen has done it in a beautiful way where they email them to her so that she's holding down the traffic that's not being appropriate. So all of that is to build to authorize her contest to develop a logo, buy the 2 cases for the display, and to start the process of changing our web, and that is a motion.
All right, we have a motion.
I will second that motion.
Second by Mr. Baldwin. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the same sign. Okay, item number 10, a brief report on the City of Temple's bank account with the Bank of America Merrill Lynch. Mr. Osborne.
I've included a memo concerning this matter, but also included a copy of the letter that had been sent to me as city administrator by Michael Romano, Senior Vice President, Bank of America. And we did sign that. Basically, the Bank of America said that while we had not fulfilled all the requirements in the past, that we were forgiven with any shortcomings, but they do expect us now to take steps to get in line so that we meet their requirements. Our having a minimum revenue to expenditure ratio of 1.05 with our water and sewer fund. And so this is something we will be working on. No action is needed tonight, simply making a report to you. If there's any comments or questions, we'll be glad to try to handle those.
Any questions, comments? Thank you, Mr. Osborne. Number 11, brief presentation concerning a printed report on fiscal and operational issues involving the City of Temple's water system and sewer system. Mr. Osborne.
And my report will be a lot briefer than it makes you to read this memo because it's several pages. It does try to set forth for you the different challenges that we have in trying to get our water system, sewer system finances in order. We will begin to work on that shortly in work sessions and special call meetings and so forth. But tonight, just wanted to present this report to you and request that you please read it, study it, so we will be ready the next couple of weeks for some in-depth discussion on different points.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne. Any questions or comments on that report? All right. Number 12, consider approval of a company to provide certain field maintenance services in the city park in 2018 at a cost not to exceed $13,109 for the 6-step treatment process and $6,000 for grass cutting and for game preparation work on the infields. Mr. Joe Wilson.
And I will be making that report. I didn't think I saw Mr. Wilson, but the bottom line is that he and I had worked together on this as council members who've been on the council for some time know. We generally get only 1 or 2 quotes for doing this work, field maintenance services, basically inside the fences at the park. We had only 1 bid submitted this year, River Bottom Farm, Dale Reinhardt. He has handled that for the last several years. His bid was divided into 2 parts. One, as the mayor said, the 6-step treatment process basically is a process that will start later this month and some activities through December. And there are a number of activities on here, but basically it has to do with keeping our fields in good shape, not having weeds to be a problem. It will be the same kinds of things that he's done before. The next part of this, and I apologize that we didn't catch this as we put out the request for proposals, is that last year, you may remember, we were planning to move ahead and employ a 3rd full-time worker in the Parks Recreation staff. Decided not to do that and to have that work done by Mr. Reinhardt. In the budget process this fall, as you know, we decided we did want to have that 3rd person because just with 2 people on staff, it makes it almost impossible sometimes just to have somebody there to keep the facilities open and operating. I do want to have some money in the budget, and Mr. Reinhardt has given us a figure basically that they would do the grass cutting and the pre-fill prep at $12.50 an hour. We've got $15,000 in the budget, so we would be able to handle the quote from River Bottom Farms of the $13,109, and then have about $2,000, which would give us almost a full month of work by somebody filling in. If we did have a vacancy that came up or something so that our staff member could not do it, we would need to look at transferring some money from personnel costs like we did last year. But the bottom line is that the $13,109, I think, is a good quote and will serve our needs well. The mayor read that I had put in that would be the maximum amount for doing that work on the 6-step treatment process. That would be part of the contract agreement. And then we do have the hourly rate, as I mentioned, cutting the grass and game preparation work. I put in that this would not exceed $6,000. It would be fine with me if you want to cut that to $2,000. I do want to have some type of cushion in there so that we would be able to have them do that. And then if we get it tight, we can always come back to you, but would recommend that the motion be approved, and if you want to change it from 6,000 down to 4,003, or even as low as 2, that would be acceptable at this time. If there are questions, I'll be glad to respond.
I have a question, Mr. Osborne. I'm a little confused here, and maybe it's me, but I'm looking at the numbers. So we got a quote for them to do it, but we're gonna hire somebody. We've also decided to hire somebody. So we're gonna cut that quote and use our hiring position to do this. And then if it becomes unavailable or we can't keep anybody in that position, then we're gonna go back to their quote per hour. Am I missing something?
No, ma'am, I don't think so. We've got 15,000 in the approved budget for field maintenance. It would take 13,000 of that to do the first part, the 6th step. That gives us an additional 2,000 that we've got budgeted for extra work that we might need done. Now, we may need more work than that, but if we do, I'm comfortable with coming back to the council with asking for additional funds. And if that takes place, it probably will be because we had a vacancy to occur or something, and we would have that money in our personnel budget because we wouldn't be spending it on the staff person if the staff person was not there.
Okay, so we have that budget, plus we have a staff person in the budget also, a new staff person. We have both positions, right?
We have a new staff person, so we are recruiting at this time to fill that position, and that would be a field maintenance staff member whose main duties would be keeping the fields in good shape, as well as filling in and keeping the rec center open from time to time and doing other things there in the park.
All right, we're going to hear from the council.
Okay, so if we cut it back to the $2,000, we're still at the point to where we should be with the 15,000, right?
Yes, sir. And then if I need to come back to you, it's going to be because, like I say, we've got a problem with because of a staff vacancy or something. But the 15,000 that you've got in the budget now would essentially take care of it.
Okay, but the other, you said you wouldn't expect it to exceed 6,000, but that part would not be in the budget, right?
4,000 of that's not in the budget, and so if we came to that, we'd be coming to you anyway to look at. So I'm fine with just putting the 2,000.
Well, I would be comfortable with making a motion to approve it and cut it back to the $2,000 and stay within the budget.
And I second that motion.
Okay, we have a move and a second. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the same sign. All right, motion passes. Number 13, consider in separate actions the approval of bids for the purchase and installation of fencing and a scoreboard for the new ball field facilities in the city's park. Mr. Hoffman.
I've given you a memo, and basically we are talking about looking at fencing and scoreboard. If you look down in the 4th paragraph, where it starts according to fiscal services consultant, you will see in the 3rd line, I've got a concession stand. That's an error in Mark 2, that's a scoreboard, because the next sentence points out that we'll be coming to you next month, asking you to select a company to build the concession stand. Right now, we're talking about the fencing and the scoreboard. Basically, what the money we'd be using is money from the 2008 SPLOSH program. You remember, we had tied up $100,000 of that to clear things up in the state of Georgia on our land and water conservation grant. Once that grant had been completed, the state did return the $100,000 to us. And so when you see that we currently have a little over $110,000 in the 2018 SPLOSH account, that's basically because of the refunds we did get from the state. And as we have talked over the last year or so, looking at using most of that money for the facilities at the park, which includes the scoreboard and fencing. Now, what you have before you, and if you were ready to act on this tonight by selecting a company from each of these three bids, that's fine. If you want to wait until we have a special call meeting in the next couple of weeks to do it, that would be fine. I don't know how much each of you has had an opportunity to study the specifics of these bids. I will just point out, before opening any discussion or motion on the school board, you can see in alphabetical order, I give you the quotes that Mr. Wilson received. And you do have the bids, the specifics of those bids in front of you. The same for fencing, in alphabetical order, you can see what the bids are. So if there are questions, I'll be glad to try to respond as best I can. Mr. Wilson, sorry he's not here to be able to answer the questions. And so if you want to wait till the next meeting when he's here, that would be fine, or if you need to look over this more. But if you're ready to act, Mr. Wilson has not said anything to me concerning any of these companies, so you can see what the bids are. And whatever you want to do is we can proceed from there and the way it is we need to.
I have a couple,
Mr. Waller.
I have a couple of questions on both items. On the school boards, it says football school boards now. Are they going to work the same on soccer fields as what they would on a football? Or are they designed the same? Because those were done to be soccer fields over there, not football fields.
Right. And I can't answer that. My assumption is that they would be one and the same compatible, but I would not try to answer that definitively.
Mr. Bright.
I'd like to make a motion that we table this. This is a major project. We need our director here to answer the questions that we might have about this. And ask him to be here when, because we do have several questions about it. So I'll make a motion that we table this to the next call meeting.
Motion to table is moved.
I second.
Second by Ms. Bivens. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Discussion.
Oh, discussion, sorry.
Okay, I just said, on the fencing, was there a RFP that was sent out? If it was, then it's not in there.
No, we basically got quotes from the companies.
Okay, it's not apples for apples, because one of the fencing quotes is for a 6-foot fence, two of them is for 5-foot fence. I do believe.
Which is why I said that you need to look closely at each one of the quotes.
What do we have out there now? Do we know, no, I mean, I'm not there, but the other ball fields, do we have 6-foot fences? 5-foot fences? We need to look into that between now and then. Okay.
Any other discussion? All right, we have a motion and second to table this matter. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the same sign? All right. Item number 14, consider approving the plans to reactivate the City of Temple's code enforcement program. Mr. Osborne.
You will find a memo that I have given to you. As you know, we do not have a code enforcement officer at this time. Basically, we've not had any code enforcement work done since August, the end of August. The Carroll County Community Development Department has helped us out on several situations, and we appreciate that, Mr. Commissioner. As you know, code enforcement was part of our intergovernmental agreement with the City of Villa Rica. We had looked at the possibility of continuing to use the services of Ricky Watts, who had handled that work under the intergovernmental agreement, and who had expressed an interest in continuing to work with the City of Temple. Mayor Harmon said that we needed to advertise for this position. We did so. We had 2 applicants, Mr. Watts and one other person. Then Mayor Harmon and I did interview the other candidate. The mayor said he didn't feel like that we needed to interview Mr. Watts since we knew him. Bottom line was that it appeared, at least from my standpoint, that the majority of the council wanted Mr. Watts back. The mayor did not, was not supportive of recommending him to be code enforcement officer with the city. Now, I do know that he does have an interest in that. If you have an interest at some point in considering him further or in offering a job to him, what you do have attached is a copy of the job description that was given to you back on October the 2nd. And this was a job description that the city of Villa Rica had. And basically it would work fine for us. The only thing we would need to do, if you wanted to adopt the job description, we would be changing it, obviously, from the city of Villa Rica to the city of Temple. And rather than being a code compliance specialist, we would identify it as a code enforcement officer. And rather than being in the community development department, it would be in our administration department. So if you decided, based on the consideration last fall and having looked at your workbook, if you were ready to go forward to establish the job description, that would be the job description that you have attached. The only thing we would do is, like I say, we would make the editing changes on those three specific things that I had mentioned. The other part of this, as you know, is that because of the difference of opinion between the majority of the council and the former mayor, we did not put money in the budget for code enforcement. A couple of things that we could look at. As you know, at the end of the year, we had more than $150,000 that left in the budget that we could put in a contingency line item just to hold it for the rest of the year. And if you wanted to transfer an appropriate amount from reserves into this year's general fund to cover the cost of code enforcement, Mr. Watts, we would be paying him the same hourly rate as we had paid him before. His desire is to work approximately 30 hours a week, and that would be sufficient for what we would need here in Temple, I believe. I have talked with Police Chief Lee. We have an older vehicle that we would make available for the code enforcement that would give him something, and then when we do purchase new police vehicles later in the fiscal year, we would be able perhaps even to put the code enforcement in a little better used car. But Mr. Watts or whomever you would employ, what we had before, as you know, was he operated off of this desk where the city clerk is sitting, and that seemed to work well for us at that time. So that's a report to you, and open for questions and how you want to proceed.
I've got a couple of questions, if I may. You said we would be paying him the same as before. We were paying him through Villa Rica before. Do you mean we would pay him the same hourly rate that Villa Rica was paying?
Correct.
Okay. And then we would furnish him a vehicle and furnish the fuel?
Yes.
Okay. Now, which one of these would we do first? Would we approve the job description before we went any further?
That would be the first step. So you've got a job approved, having the job added to our list of jobs, and approve a job description.
Okay. I'm ready to make a motion to approve the job description as you worded it as a code enforcement officer.
I second that.
Moved by Mr. Wallace, second by Mr. Brangham. Any discussion?
there's been a lot of talk, a lot of concern in the community that we did not have a code enforcement officer. So, we're sitting, that's my discussion.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the same sign?
No. I've got a question.
All right, Mr. Bryan, your question?
Okay, so with this motion and passage of this motion, the process starts for us to hire.
Go
To
ahead.
answer your question, what you need to do now that you've approved a job description, we need you to create one job under that job description. So we know what the job description is. Now I need you to approve hiring somebody to go into a job slot under that job description.
And I make that motion.
But I'm sorry, I have a question. Are we approving for part-time or full-time, 24 or 30?
30 is what we had with him before, and what he would like to have as a work schedule.
And
And
that-
that's sufficient for us.
And that keeps him as part-time, that doesn't make him a full-time employee at some point, 30 hours at night?
I think that keeps him, I believe that keeps him still as a part-time.
Walter.
He had said he didn't need any benefits and didn't want any benefits.
Correct.
He just wants an hourly rate.
Right, he's got retirement from where he previously had.
Do we need to do a pay scale for pay classification for him, or is that something you'll take care of?
We could, what we're talking about is, as I said, is looking at paying him the same hourly rate as we had been paying him last August.
And that would establish that would establish the pay scale based on.
Yeah, can we word the motion up to 30 hours per week? Because at one point he was working, 24? He was working 3 days a week, wasn't he?
And it would work more than that sometimes, but it would be up to 30, I think would be appropriate.
So make a motion to say, create the job and make it a part-time position with it being no more than 30 hours per week. Is that an appropriate motion?
Why, before we do that, I just have a question, I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I understand this. So we're going to add this to the budget because it's not in the budget. So this is position that we are going to add into the budget under, we're just going to make a code enforcement budget?
Well, your next step, once, if you approve the job description, you're creating a position and what it would do, then we've got to talk about where the money comes from.
Okay, and how much are we making this budget for? How much are we adding to the budget? I'm not asking for what we pay him, I'm saying, are we gonna make it 30,000, no more than 30,000 for a 12-month period? We're gonna make it 25? I guess I would like a number to know what we're doing with it.
And I think that's a fair question, and I think what you said a minute ago is probably a good answer to $30,000 because we're talking about his salary. There would be some operating costs, but that should come very close to what we would do. And in terms of where we could get that, one possibility, as I mentioned, is that the money that we had from last year that had more than $150,000 that we had, and we simply moved that into reserves. And we could take that out of reserves. Is one possibility. Another possibility is that we simply could take a look at and come back to you later for where we might do some transfers in the current budget. But as you know from having worked on that budget, it's pretty tight.
All right, Mr. Radley, you want to repeat your motion?
Yes. To establish I guess it's to establish the position of code enforcement for 30 hours, not to exceed 30 hours. That's all I need in there, right?
That's right.
Okay, that's my motion.
All right, motion by Mr. Bridwell. Any second?
I second it.
Second by Ms. Bivens. Any discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, the same sign? have the job slotted to fill.
And then, question, and then Mr. Osborne will come back and give us suggestions of where to take the money.
We'll come back in a couple of weeks, and one thing I will do, I think you implied it, though you hadn't voted, but I will verify with Mr. Watts if he's available, and let him know that the job is available, and then we'll see if he has an interest in that, come back and report that to you, then you can take whatever action you want to do something.
Call a meeting.
Yes, sir, we're going to call a meeting.
Get more info. Very good.
All right, item number 15. Report concerning the City of Temple's fiscal services during the final quarter of 2017 and for the first quarter of 2018.
You will go to your next tab, you'll see, we start off, I've got a memo, but if you'll go to the last page under that tab, and you will find a list of things. I'm going to ask Cynthia Guy, I think all of you, I'm not sure if I would give council member, Cynthia Guy, just a brief introduction. She's had a couple of careers, 20 plus years in the United States Navy, more than half of that as a naval officer. And then she has been in local government for about 10 years as a city clerk, a city finance director, an acting city administrator. And then she decided to go into business for herself, and we're one of her clients at the moment. So, Ms. Guy.
Thank you, Mr. Osborne, and thank you, Mayor and Council. I've enjoyed working with you the last 3 months, and just want to summarize some of the things I have seen in the finance department. I did provide you with a list of financial tasks and responsibilities. This is a list that I've comprised over observation, experience, and actually working within the City of Temple structure. In identifying these tasks and responsibilities, of course, the idea is to produce good, solid financial procedures for us to follow into the future. I've had a chance to review each of these items with the mayor, the incoming mayor, as well as the city administrator. So without going into a great amount of detail, if any of you have any questions, then I'm always available to answer or go over anything that you see on this list. I really consider all the items listed to be of equal importance to the City of Temple and your financial stability. All should be given attention, but I do want to highlight a few of these areas that I feel deserve a more timely response in order to continue and maintain and improve upon the finance services on staff. The first would be, I'd like to identify your Casella Finance software training and procedures. Using a new finance software, it is mandatory that we provide the correct amount of training for our staff members. Accounts payable and cash receiving procedures need to be formalized and followed completely. Bank accounts and investment accounts, a thorough review and update to those accounts need to be done in the next fiscal year. I'd like to recommend, and Mr. Osborne and I have talked about it a lot, that the City of Temple do a request for proposal for bank services to all the local banks in the area. I'd also like to recommend in fiscal year 18 that you review your merchant services contracts and just to make sure that Temple is getting the best possible services. Debt service review, payment requirements, and of course bond compliance. Those are very important subjects. And last, staff support and resources. I've really enjoyed working with the administrative staff as well as the other department directors. As with any other business, successful business, your staff and your resources are a priority. So giving attention to those would be very important. At this time, if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to respond. Yes, sir.
When you mentioned sending out RFPs to the banks, what are you looking for? Are you looking for better service or better interest rates, or what are we looking for?
All of those. I mean, for a request for proposal, you're looking for access, ease of access, what type of services they have available for us as customers. Certainly bank fees. They're very competitive. And right now, from the paperwork that I've been able to locate, we have not done a request for proposal for bank services for a very long time.
Will any of them actually waive the service fee each month that they charge? They charge us like, what, $20 a month for a service fee on each account?
And some of them are actually analyzed at a percentage rate based on your balances. So
Which could help us.
Which can help you, yes. It has been my experience that the bank fees that we're currently paying, we can definitely find more competitive rates.
We also have some CDs maturing this month
Yes,
that
sir.
I think we need to check some rates on, probably. We got some maturing on the 18th.
I think they matured in November, but I'll look at that for you. And make
Some
sure.
of them was December,
Okay.
some in January.
Well, in December it did. I'll take a look and update those accounts. And that's part of the schedule that, again, Mr. Osborne, and I spoke with the mayor about, there needs to be an established schedule based on these investment accounts, that a month prior to them maturing, we're already out there looking for competitive rates.
We may be able to get another percent on $500,000, which could amount up to a whole lot.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Again, thank you all very much. I've enjoyed my time here.
Thank you, Ms. Guy. All right, item number 16, consider a 90-day extension of the City of Temple's fiscal services agreement with consultant Cynthia Geyer. Ms. Robbins.
I think Ms. Guy has done an excellent job for us. Frankly, if we had not found her, she hadn't been recommended to us. Councilmember Walden and I had talked about her and got her in and interviewed her, because she has been a lifesaver. They'll rip the bell down on us, and we do need to end up though with somebody on a more permanent basis in that position. And this guy, of course, worked with us on the budget and everything over these last 3 months. Over these next 3 months, one of the responsibilities I would see her having is working with the mayor, the council, and myself on creating a position for finance director, somebody to head up the finance operation, and so that we can begin starting the recruiting process on that. We do need to get that stability at some point in the near future. But immediately, we do need to, in my opinion, to continue her services, because at the moment we don't have a plan B. So what we'd like to do is continue her services for the next 90 days.
All right, well, do I hear Council?
Make a motion if we extend their contract for 90 days.
Second that motion, sir.
Move second, Mr. Bragg and Mr. Walden. Any discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. Item number 17. Brief status report on the U.S. Highway 78, Georgia Highway 113 intersection project. Mr. Dwayne Everhart.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Currently, they are asking for us to conduct a survey. So Howard Ray is actually conducting that survey. Based on the email that we received today, he will have that survey conducted by next Monday. That's where we go. Any questions?
How soon will they start? Any idea?
Don't know.
least that's something, if they
We
want to
need
serve
something,
that.
right. We're moving in a positive
That
direction.
sounds good to me.
Any other questions or comments from the council? All right, thank you, Mr. Everhart. Item number 18, you might as well stay there. Approve the purchase of a subsurface all materials locator to enable the City Public Works Department to identify the underground location of PVC and non-ferrous pipe which have been installed over the years by private contractors and this local government and which are part of the city's water and sewer system. Mr. Everhart.
Yes, I think Mr. Osborne provided you guys with some quotes that we have for this particular item, as well as a brief summary in terms of the equipment. And basically, this summary just basically said that, you know, Henry Red was here for a long time. He actually installed a lot of the pipes. He actually knew where they were by memory. And it would definitely be advantageous for us to have some kind of equipment out there to assist us in the field where we actually can locate some of these water lines that are not identified on the current map. So this particular piece of equipment would definitely, again, aid us in doing so. Again, I was unsuccessful with getting 3 bids. I was actually able to get 2. Again, you have those in your package.
Do you know what percentage of these lines we don't know where they are?
Since I've been here, Temple is I think they're several hundred some odd years old. So a lot of the lines are old that are not on the current map. We have the new map does actually display the new lines that are put in, but a lot of the old lines are not identified on the actual map.
So, I just want to understand how my question is that. So this would help us find them.
Right.
And put them on the map so that 10 years down the road, we're not doing the same thing again.
Well, putting them on the map, I mean, that would be a next phase. I think this right here would actually help us when we have water leaks and when we have 811 tickets that we're actually trying to go out and find water lines and sewer lines. When people want to do underground digging, we actually have to go out and find those lines and mark them. So this will help us in that particular process.
Any other questions?
That's right. I can see where that's a necessary piece of equipment and a very expensive piece of equipment. I would have a concern about housing it. Where you got a safe place to keep it.
We can store it here. Yes, it all. That would be my recommendation.
Okay, and if you check on like, is there such thing as a remanufactured one for less money?
It can go there.
You didn't check into it. That's a possibility. How soon do you need this? Immediately, if not sooner?
This will locate PVC, metal, wood.
If we buy it, I would like to know that it's under lock and key unless it's out there.
Again, I think my recommendation would we're not in use.
And I noticed one of these has a warranty and one of these does not. This one, I don't see it. At least this one we've got a 3-year thing.
Right.
Do you know if this one comes with them?
I do not know, and just the FYI, USA Food Book is a current vendor that we currently use.
Any other questions?
I'd like to make the motion that we purchase the USA Blue Book one just because it's got a warranty on it. And because I think hourly time, we're probably gonna spend a lot more money than this. And even though I know it's expensive, we're gonna spend a lot more money than this in hourly time trying to find these things. Unless they bust or pop up or whatever.
I second the motion.
Motion by Ms. Vivens, second by Mr. Brightman. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
This was the USA Blue Book.
Yes, sir.
completes our agenda. Now we'll move on to closing comments. At this time, we'll give the city administrator an opportunity to give any closing comments, to be followed by any of the department directors that are present, and we won't call on you individually. You just, if you have something to share, then you just step forward and share after the administrator has finished his comments.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very briefly, just to announce, City Hall will be closed next Monday, January 15th, for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. To the city council members, if any of you have any interest in attending the Georgia Municipal Association meeting in Atlanta for January the 19th to the 22nd, if you would please see Kristen or myself, because we do need to wrap that up. That's January 19th to the 22nd, and Kristen can give you more specifics if you want to look at just part of that meeting. If you would let Kristen or myself know, possibly tomorrow, but certainly before the end of the day, Wednesday, on any dates during the remainder of this month that you absolutely would not be available for a special call meeting. We've talked about needing to have one, and I don't want to get in a situation so the mayor calls and then we've got a couple of council members who say, but, you know, I could have come any day other than that. So we're asking you, please let us know any dates that you cannot possibly make it. And the final thing I've got is, I mentioned this to Mayor Pro Tem, back on July 6th, you authorized the expenditure of up to $12,000 for a pump concerning our lift stations. Vern Harris, of course, as you know, Vern tries to get the best deal he can to work around. We lost the 2 or 3 things we thought we had, probably because of the weather events elsewhere. We finally did get everything worked out, and just wanted to let you know, if you see the new pump coming in and you think that we were not asked to approve that, you approved it back in July. We just a long time being able to get it. So that's all I've got.
All right, thank you, Mr. Osborne. Any other directors want to have anything to share? Mr. City Attorney, Mr. Michael Craig, have anything you want to share with the council tonight?
No, sir. Except go Bulldogs.
All right. Mr. Wallace, anything you want to share with the meeting tonight?
Just want to thank everyone for being here tonight.
Mr. Bragg.
Same thing, thank everybody. It's exciting to see this large group. Also, I've given each one of you a little deal about the Rockmart Farmers Market with some ideas that we might could pursue. Everybody has a copy of that. Kind of look at that, and Mr. McCrae come pull us some info together. Go Dogs.
Mr. Walden.
Yes, sir. I'm excited about getting busy for the next 4 years. I'm excited about working with the new administration. It's just like a breath of fresh air and sunshine moving forward.
Yes, sir. Ms. Bivens.
Well, I would just like to say again, thank you for electing me to sit up here. I'm honored to be up here. And I like Mr. McCrae, say go Dogs, and if you like Alabama, just go on.
Mike, before we dismiss, before we have a motion to adjourn, let me add that we appreciate Carroll County Commissioner Tommy Lee for coming to our meeting tonight. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being here.
I look forward to working with you the next few years, and if I can help with anything, if y'all need me, I'm just a phone call away.
All right, thank you very much. Just a final comment or two from myself. First of all, I want to bring your attention these beautiful pieces of wood right here. This is Temple Oak, and I want to extend my gratitude to Mr. Jeff Shackelford for collecting the oak and fashioning it into this beautiful gavel and the pad to hit it with. And thank you, Mr. Tyson. We'd like to also say thank you for coming, and to echo Mr. McRae, go Bulldogs. At this time, we will hear a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion is second to adjourn. All in favor? We are adjourned.